So hello there, and today we're going to do a little bit of a review of my favourite waterproof ink, and that is platinum carbon ink. And why is it my favourite? How do we use it? All these kind of things we're going to cover in this short video. So platinum carbon ink is made by Platinum, who are a company who make also these fountain pens and a few other different ink sort of apparatus. They're a sort of budget pen company, but they're good quality pens at the same time. And they're famous, I think, most famous for this ink. Now this ink, it's carbon ink, it's got little carbon granules, I believe, in it, which settle on the page. And then when you put water on them, after it's dried, they don't move. And that's what makes it such a useful thing. It's waterproof. That means we can then come and put watercolours or pens, whatever, on top, and we won't smudge and blend our lines. I use it in my Lamy Safari pens, I use it in my Platinum Preppy pens. There's a theoretical risk it could damage your pen because of those granules. It could clog up. But I've had my pens for a long time, many years, and I've never had a problem. I was anxious to start with, but even this, which is an extra fine pen, has no problems and very easy, good flow. And even if I leave it for a week or two, I'll be able to come back and it will draw both sides of the pen without a problem. And we can see just by having a little draw, it's got a lovely dark colour. We can do a little block in, and it's a true black of an ink. So it's a really lovely dark colour to use. We could just do a couple more little doodles, little face, a nose and a mouth, and there we go. You can see it flows really easily. Draw a little box, and all of these things very easy, very lovely, and I think it's not like special. It doesn't have the chromatic qualities or anything like that, but what it does have is a lovely matte black finish. It dries quite quickly, but not super quickly. So this is hot pressed paper, so that in itself makes it dry a little slower. The ink's a bit more slippy on the surface. So if we were to touch in now, I imagine you'll find it still a bit wet. And you'll see that actually the ink is rather neutral in colour when we make it wet. And if I just take some ink out of the pen itself, you can see that it's sort of neutral, slightly brown, but it looks mostly really like neutral tint if we were to compare it to a watercolour. Now, what I'm going to do is leave this a couple of minutes so that we're definitely dry, and then I'll show you why it's so good, why it's so useful as a waterproof ink. So we've had a couple of minutes now, and what we'll be able to see is if I just bring some water, and even if I scrub really hard, be really aggressive, we get very minimal movement of that ink. You can see it's a little bit smooth there, and that's because I've damaged the paper, but that's lifting the paper and not the ink. We can see even in these dense bits, we don't really get very much wash of ink whatsoever. That's why this is such good ink. And it means if we pop our colours on top, our colours stay really lovely and crisp. We got lovely blues, lovely reds, and that ink has just a nice dark neutral colour underneath. And so there you go, that is why this is my favourite ink and why I use it for my waterproof inking needs, if you like. My only word of caution is if you're going to use it again, make sure that page is dry, because obviously if I draw on a wet page, it's going to spread everywhere, and we don't get those lovely benefits of the waterproof ink that we're after. So I hope that's been useful, interesting, or helps you decide on your next ink to buy. Everything I've used here is listed on my website, urbansketch.co.uk. I don't sell anything, but I do have links up so that you can find exactly what it is that I enjoy using, if that's the kind of thing that you yourself want to use as well. In another video, I'm just going to talk through how to use ink converters so that you can use these big pots of ink and make your life cheaper and easier and more friendly for the environment. Here's a bit which needs to touch.